Now I'm just figuring out how many ways I can sit near the chair, but not actually in the chair. Hi everyone, and welcome to the second round of our categories TBR game. I'm trying a new setup. I don't love it, but we're gonna go with it for today. In case you missed the last episode of this TBR game, I will link it down below so that you can understand all of the rules. But basically, we're gonna play one round of categories where we answer 12 questions that all have to start with the same letter that I roll from this die. And I'm gonna pick 5, and that is our TBR. Sorry, 5. Last year, my goal for February was to read books all by Black authors, and I'd like to do that again this year. But I also have quite a few like wintry, snowy books that I'd like to read, and it's really cold out recently. So depending on how many I get through in the rest of January, I might want some of them to carry over into February. But I am committing to reading at least half Black authors for sure. It also kind of depends on what the TBR game shall bring us. My timer is set for 3 minutes, and I just have to roll. The letter is J. That's gonna be a fun one. Okay, go! So, we didn't do as well as I might have hoped, but that's okay. I missed 3 of them, so that's not bad. Here are my answers. Famous females. Janis Joplin, pretty proud of that one. Medicine, drugs, I couldn't think of anything. All I kept coming up with was jaundice medication, but I don't think that counts. Things made of metal, jets. Hobbies, jump rope. People in uniform, Jersey Boys. I'm going off of the musical. They have like a Beatles type uniform. I'm gonna call it a uniform. 6, I couldn't think of anything. Animals, jaguar. Language, Japanese. Names used in the Bible, Joshua. Junk food, again, couldn't think of anything. Ginger snaps, but that starts with a G. Things that grow, Jasmine, and companies, Johnson & Johnson. Now all that's left is find some books for these prompts, which I don't think will be super easy. Okay, it's been a minute, but I'm back. There was a minute where I thought there was no way I was gonna come up with enough books for these prompts, and I was gonna have to lie to you and just like refilm it and say that it was the first time, but I think I've done it. And all books by Black authors, which is very good. There's so many books that I want to read by Black authors, but just like fitting them into these categories was really challenging. But these are like 5 of the books that I want to read the most right now. I also realized I didn't mention before, but I fulfilled the prompts for January, so there's no punishment or anything for me this time. The first book that we are going with is based off of Janis Joplin, who is a singer-songwriter. So in that vein, I am going to read The Poet X by... I know it. You know how many times I've heard people talk about The Poet X? I know it. By Elizabeth Acevedo. Of course it's Elizabeth Acevedo. What do I know about this? Not much, except that it's written in verse and that you should do it as an audiobook. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's an old school booktube darling that I'm very happy to finally be getting to. Sorry, I just realized you can see like the bottom of a painting here and the framing is really bad, so maybe we won't sit here next month. Next up, I used jets, and my thought process here was something international, something I would have to fly to. And so I've gone with Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This talks about his growing up in South Africa and the sort of racism that he faced there, being half white and half black. Another book that's been super acclaimed that I'm excited to get to. Next, I'm using the prompt Jersey Boys. So that is a musical group. And so going off of performers generally, I'm going to be reading The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta, something I've been putting on TBRs, and I'm actually going to read it this time. This is about a young black boy coming into his own and discovering his sexuality, and he starts performing in drag. Another one that is also written in verse and is supposed to be really quick to go through. I've heard nothing but good things. Next is my worst connection, but I needed it because I'm going to read this book. Like, it's a non-negotiable. Let's work backwards then. So I'm participating in the Literally Dead book club. I'm gonna try to do every month this year. I did most of them last year, but not consistently. And so for February, the book is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. So that is what I'm reading. Now, how do I relate it to one of these prompts? The story of Razorblade Tears, as far as I know, is about two fathers who are trying to hunt down the people who killed their sons who were married to each other, and their complicated feelings about their sons being gay, and I think one of them is white and one of them is black. I'll let you know after I read it, but my thought here is like the hunting, the predatory behavior. I'm going with Jaguar. And I'm sorry, but that was the best that I could do. If you could come up with a better link for any one of these words, I would be happy to be proven wrong. Not wrong, just less right. And then the last prompt that I'm using is Johnson & Johnson, whose tagline I always remember, must have been when I had cable, whenever that was. They were Johnson & Johnson, a family company. And so I'm going off of family, and I'm going to be reading Kindred by Octavia Butler, something I've been super excited about. It's about this woman living in, I assume, modern day, but it was written in the 70s, and she time travels back to the 1700s and has to help out one of her white ancestors who is a slave owner. It's a classic, and I must read it. So those are the 5 books that I'll be reading based on categories, but I have one additional book that I need to read to fulfill the buzzword prompt for this month, which is pronouns or possessions, so like you, me, her, him, they, words like that. I might change my mind, but I think I'll read it. Is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid, because I saw the movie semi-recently, months ago, and it has such great winter vibes, and you can really see how it is translated from the book. But I started doing the audiobook of it like yesterday, and the audiobook just doesn't work after having seen the movie because it's almost exactly the same, but the audiobook narrator isn't acting. They're just sort of reading the words, but I can hear the words in my head the way that the actress did it in the movie, if that makes sense. So it's something that I'm going to have to read physically. I just need to be in the right headspace for it. It's a very headspace-based thing. What can I tell you about I'm Thinking of Ending Things? It is the story of this woman who is going to meet her boyfriend's family for the first time, and it's a very snowy road trip, and things get weird. I think that's a good enough synopsis. Anyway, that's my TBR. I'm much happier with it than I was after I finished writing all of these out. I think we can do this. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.